Thank you and welcome to the show for today. This morning, I have Larry Jenkins Jr., Assistant Director of Bands for the Tennessee State University Aristocrat of Bands Marching Band, discussing his background, education, and ultimately African American music in Nashville. So thank you, Mr. Jenkins, commonly known as Prof. Thank you for coming this morning and for sharing just a little bit about you. I know that you're a figure that many see, but very few know much about. And so I thank you for joining me this morning and allowing me to share your perspective.
Absolutely.
And just to start off this first segment, I just want to talk about your early experiences. Kind of tell me about little Larry.
Little Larry. I grew up in Portsmouth, Virginia. So that's where I was born and raised. I spent, a lot of time there, really just in the community with my friends and played baseball, all those, normal things to grow up. But it was one of the things with music that my mother always knew that it will be a part of my life. A couple stories. Here's one. The first one, growing up in the church, we went to Noble Street Baptist Church, in my early childhood. And wow, even before the birth, with this story in Noble Street, there was a specific person, Mom, don't kill me for telling this story either, but there was a specific person who would sing, and the notes weren't as pleasant as maybe expected.
Yes, sir.
And I started to kick and everything, even in the womb. And she said, I think he's gonna be in music. And then from there, I'll fast forward because she was right. Even one time, me asking her when I was about 3 or 4, Mom, am I crazy? And she's like, why are you asking me that? And I said, because I hear music all the time. And it was just something that was a part of me. So I started playing trumpet in the 6th grade, fell in love with it. And shout out to Miss Sorrell. She was my middle school band director. And, did that all the way up and started up to high school, started writing music in a sense, figuring out songs from the radio. So I was really falling in love with just different aspects of music, period. Then from there, I got to high school, and this is where it just really clicked. I went to IC Norcom High School in Portsmouth, Virginia, which to my knowledge is the second oldest predominantly black high school in America, as far as I know. And I think it's maybe like 145, 146 years old. And we had a historic band program. So I got in the marching band and, concert band, jazz band, all those things, and started to really, really hone in on my skills. And I was learning from Mr. Thomas Thurgood, shout out to him as well, big influence on my life. And I knew at that point, it was really between music and journalism. I knew that, I was still going in that direction. And, funny story too, I had to say this one to thank my mother. My freshman year in high school, I remember being so enamored with music and band and all those things that I put all of my time and energy into it. And with that being the case, my grades ended up slipping. And I remember my mom was on the way to putting me out the band just so I could focus on school. But somebody, and I can't remember who that person is, so thank them as well. Somebody pretty much saved me and said, no, if this is his passion, use that as a fuel, you know what I mean, to just fire, put some fire behind him, and that's what happened. I ended up going through there and graduating in 2004. And, that journey ended up taking me here to TSU for undergrad, and it really started to pop.
And now with the last about minute we have in this segment, I want to talk about those early experiences at TSU. So just to kind of set the stage, you've auditioned for the marching band.
Absolutely.
On trumpet. So you're coming in as this baby aristocrat. You're young, you're excited. Tell me what that looked like.
Woo! It was, for one, it was a brand new space. So, coming 12 hours away from the coast, growing up on the water, and coming inland, like in the hills, valleys, mountain, everything, it's different for one, just proximity. But coming in now, I'm looking around, I'm like, wait, there's a whole bunch of us. You know what I mean? Our band wasn't as big, so now I'm looking at all these people, and I'm seeing, I'm learning about the pride and the history that TSU has to offer. So the pride and the history that the band itself has to offer. The love that the community in Nashville has for our band and our university. So it was like a crash course coming in here and learning about what TSU is. Also, physically, it was off the chain, just demanding.
And
you
then
know that.
we
It's-
know.
yeah.
Lord, do I know. And in our second segment, we're going to pick back up on, developing that mental and physical
Yes.
strength through the band and how that influenced your teaching career and
Absolutely.
ultimately the man that you are today.
Yes.
And I encourage our viewers to tune into the second segment of Perspectives, where me and Larry Jenkins will be discussing African American music in Nashville.
Absolutely.
Welcome to the second segment of the show for today. For viewers just tuning in, I'm joined this morning by Mr. Larry Jenkins Jr., Assistant Director of Bands for the Tennessee State University Aristocrat of Bands Marching Band. In our first segment, we discussed Mr. Jenkins' early upbringings in Virginia, all through high school and eventually leading to his freshman year at Tennessee State University playing trumpet in the Aristocrat of Bands. We left off on just how the fish out of water feeling was very common amongst Mr. Jenkins and his peers. And we're going to continue on that kind of same tip, just
Yes.
that freshman year. Tell me kind of some of the things that you use to develop your mental and physical strength while juggling your school and being an aristocrat.
Ooh, part of that is, or was, a learn as you go type thing. I was developing, as a young man, as a young musician, as a college student. So I was really taking the experiences that I, came with from home, the lessons learned there, the things I learned in my band programs like that, and just starting to apply them to a new situation. So much of it was learning as you went, you know what I mean, or learning as I went. And from there, I just worked hard. You get into that zone. I did have a certain zone I got into in band practice and those things. Really working to make sure I learned my music. The things that you have to do to succeed and to contribute to the band too. Because it's something like that. I was learning the lesson that is bigger than you. We would always get the 10 state on your chest is bigger than you, right? And you're learning and getting that lesson inside of your head, and you're applying it, knowing that it's a big picture. So it's about more than me. So I started to take that and apply it through my classes, started to elevate in the band in a sense, and was able to be a section leader for the trumpets and or co-section leader for the trumpets in 2006. I was a drum major in 2007. I met my wife in the band. That's later down the road, but we met while we were in the band. And also, one of the things about being in the AOB was, the experiences. So getting to go places that I had never been. I'm traveling. I'm seeing different parts of the world. I'm meeting different people, networking, and still at the same time I'm elevating as a musician. So I'm still sharpening my skill set and trying to become a better me. And that led later on to, of course, graduating college and moving to DC, where I started teaching in DCPS, taught at the Washington Metropolitan High School. I taught at Luke Seymour High School, and while there, I really started to get my chops as a professional. So it was an interesting situation too, being a young professional. I'm 22, 23, whatever age I was at that time. And I had students that are right behind me. So, it was definitely a great learning experience. I'm so thankful for my days in DC. I used that time to network as well, which is an important aspect of my story. I was networking with the band directors at Howard, and I say networking, but I was really going to pick their brains. I know I want to do something like this, so went over there to learn. I think that's a better way to say it. They became friends of mine, which I still love to this day. Shout out to Mr. Newsom and Mr. Wash. They're out in DC still. But yeah, I used to go over to Howard during my break and learn and do those things, and that's gonna come back around. Moved back to Nashville. Back in Nashville, I began teaching again. This was at a charter Drexel at that time, and I think the year is about 2011, 2012, right? So at that point, I'm teaching elementary music, so I'm adding another professional side to what I'm doing, and it's my first time teaching elementary, so I had a great time there with the youngins, the little kids, the babies, right? But one day, and this is an important aspect of my personal journey, in March of that year, it was the start of my spring break. I was sitting in church at Temple playing trumpet. Shout out Reverend Drumright. I was playing trumpet, and one of my AOB OG, so his name was Stride. He took his son DeAndre out to Howard to audition, and that Sunday again, as we're sitting there, he said, "Hey, DeAndre went out and auditioned. Everything went well. He ended up going to Howard too, so that everything went well. But the band directors asked about you, and they said they had an assistantship for you, but they don't know where you went." And I'm like, "Oh my goodness!" So this was on Sunday. They said to call them. Monday, I made the call. Tuesday, I talked to Mr. Irby, the trumpet instructor extraordinaire, right, professor extraordinaire. He said to mail the application to his house. Wednesday, I was on the megabus. Thursday, I went and auditioned and had my assistantship. Wow. It all happened in 4 days, and the week before, I didn't know it was going to happen. Wow. So it just shows you our purpose and,
my goodness,
just literally going to speak with them and, trying to learn turned into an opportunity to further myself. So that's how I ended up at Howard. Great 2 years there too. Oh my goodness, had a ball in grad school there. And that's where I met Mr. Stefan Naylor, who was on this show.
Yes.
One of my best friends, and we became friends there, but learned so much, got some great experiences in DC. And, it was those experiences in that time that led me back here to
Tennessee State
home.
University.
Absolutely.
And we're nearing the end of the second segment, but Prof, I just want to talk about your early experiences coming back to TSU.
Oh my goodness. Coming back to TSU was surreal. It's one of those things where, it's like, man, I have to pinch myself, or am I really, really here? Because it was home. It's the place that groomed me, as that young man into being a professional, and the place where I have so many amazing memories. So being back literally felt surreal. And, it took a second for me to come back and start to find my flow. And, I'm working with some of the people who influenced me the most, with Dr. McDonald, Prof. Sexton in particular. These folks, I sat in their class, and now I'm a colleague, so I had to learn how to be a colleague to those who were my teachers, my educators. So, I think that first year, I was really finding my flow, got to contribute, with my own voice. But right around Honda that year, and this is the Honda Battle of the Bands for those who don't know. Right around Honda Battle of the Bands that year, I think I really started to get into my flow. And once I got my foot in, it was up.
And we hear stories in the band about how you were in the old days.
Yeah.
And we laugh and we're like, man, Prof. Jenkins used to be intense. And in our final segment, we're going to come back and just talk about the director you were specifically. I want to talk about the Aristocrat of Bands album, The Urban Hymnal.
Absolutely.
In addition to you having your own band, Brassville.
Absolutely.
And I want to talk about just how you juggle all that while still showing up to applied lessons, to practice at 5 o'clock, to wind ensemble rehearsals, and just maintaining your self-confidence, your mental state, and overall just being an awesome educator and musician. And I encourage our viewers to tune into the final segment of Perspectives, where we'll be discussing African-American music in Nashville. Final segment of the show for today. For viewers just tuning in, I'm joined this morning by Mr. Larry Jenkins Jr., Assistant Director of Bands for the Tennessee State University Aristocrat of Bands Marching Band. In our first two segments, we discussed Mr. Jenkins' background, education, the road leading to his return to Tennessee State University, where he has been the Assistant Director of Bands since 2012, going on 11 years. And ultimately, we've talked about the impact that he has had on students, and now we're going to talk about some of the things that he does in his personal life, in addition to being an educator, and overall his impact on African-American music in Nashville. And so, Prof, thank you once again for just sitting down this morning and hopping right back into where we left off. We talked about your early years in the AOB, just kind of figuring out who you were as a director, as a teacher, as a brass instructor. And now, ultimately, I want to get up to what everyone wants to know about, the Urban Hymnal. For our viewers who aren't familiar, the Urban Hymnal is the album by the Tennessee State University Aristocrat of Bands, which has won 2 Grammy Awards. And Prof, while I was at Tennessee State University and watched this process, I want to hear kind of from the inside what that process looked like.
Yeah, so it started off with, connecting with Serta Baptist, and we were doing a residency program there, and just to kind of fast forward through it, ended up being one of those things. It's like, man, we should do an entire album. and connected with one of my best friends, Double A, Aaron Lockhart, who was in the band as a student when I first got back to TSU as well, and really started to put together something that we knew would be special, be impactful, and different, for lack of better words, right? Something that hadn't been done in this type of way. And so the students, were really on board from all the days that we recorded early or after practice. And you already know practice sometimes can go late when we have a lot of things to do. But for everybody to sacrifice, time and put in that effort to really make that happen was a special, special time, man. It took us maybe almost about a semester or so to record everything, and thankful for the artists that were all a part of this, and so many people to thank that made this happen and put in the energy to make it happen. But once we got the album out, for one, got it circulating, and then we're happy with the music, because that's the most important thing. You have to be, it's music first, it's that. And then we submitted for the Grammy Awards, and just felt good about what we had, but then we got nominated. And it was one of those things. We were nominated for Best Roots Gospel, one of those things that was just extremely exciting. Students running out of class, everybody's just on a different level because of this. And then also being able to contribute to Jay Ivy's The Poet Who Sat by the Door album, and have a feature on there, which also he was nominated at that point, and then both albums ended up winning Grammy Awards in their respective categories. And for us, I just know that it was one of those things that feeling is almost indescribable, because that history was made, and this is like history book history. You know what I mean? It's heavy, and to know that we were a part of that, and our students were a part of that, and to see we on the stage, and I'm almost in tears, like, oh my God, this just happened. But to go backstage and to see faces be on FaceTime, I think Chelsea FaceTime, and I'm looking at the scene inside of the Student Center, and everybody going crazy. So it was an amazing ride with that whole Grammy situation, just incredible. And I'm forever grateful for that.
And Prof, something I think is especially interesting is that not only were you coming to practice, you teach throughout the day. A lot of people forget that you actually have classes. You're not just with the AOB. You are an actual brass instructor. You've taught theory classes, everything across the music ed board.
Absolutely.
And so you start about 7, 8 a.m. with your regular classes. Then scattered throughout, you have your applied lessons that people may or may not come to. And then you have practice that we, again, may or may not be at, but then you leave and perform with Brassville. Tell me about the inception of Brassville.
So the inception of Brassville is very interesting. My good friend Jonathan Neal, he's now assistant band director at Grambling, professor in the music department, so we serve in the same type role. But he was in grad school, and it was one of those things where we kind of taught him, like, you know what? We've had these experiences with DuPont Brass in DC, shout out to DuPont Brass. And we also, just being the musicians we're like, man, we want to bring this flavor, we want to bring this energy and everything that we're thinking about to our community and have it here. So we got together with a few more folks. I can shout out Nate McDowell. He had an idea similar as well. So once we started to just merge and get everybody in and everybody on the same page, we started to just really make music for Nashville, for the community. And something that I'm very proud of with Brassville, on the ascension that we've had. We've been able to play Jazz Fest. Like, we've traveled around the country and done things. We've probably done everything except put out an album, which will be on the way. But one of the things I think we did was bring people together too. Like during the pandemic, one in particular, we did a almost Tiny Desk-like performance at the CE Gallery, shout out Clarence. And while we were there, we invited other artists to come in and perform with us. But it turned into almost like a gathering that felt like a creative family that we didn't know we had or needed.
Yes.
So, you know, Brassville, one of the things about us is we've been able to reach so many amazing artists and creatives in the city through the power of music. And I'm so proud of that. And I'm thankful for the relationships that we've built through Brassville.
And you've inspired so many students with Brassville. Like, think of the Fellas.
Love 'em.
For our for viewers unfamiliar with TSU or the AOB, the Fellas is a group of Tennessee State University aristocrats.
Yes.
The majority, if not all of them, being section leaders within the band or drum majors. And these guys are awesome. These are like some of the
Yes.
greatest musicians in the band. And they've gotten together and formed their own group. And you know, it got to a point where between Brassville and the Fellas, you weren't cool if you hadn't gone to one of their
Wow.
shows.
Wow.
It got to a point where we would like line out, let's see, okay, like the Fellas is playing at 8 o'clock, practice ends at 6:30, we're gonna go to this apartment,
Oh my goodness.
shower real quick, and then get downtown, and it was serious.
Wow.
And you guys encourage that. You all encourage, you know, support your friends. We send it in,
Yes.
in the group me and in the group chats. And I think that especially was like the hugest thing to me, because not only did you inspire us so deeply, it spread. It spread not only through the AOB, but we had students from Fisk, from Vanderbilt, Belmont, different, you know, wind ensembles, Trevecca, different groups from there come to shows with the Fellas and with Brassville, because they've heard about this tight-knit family and about the impact that we've had.
Yes.
And that right there is what characterizes the educator that you are, Mr. Jenkins.
Thank
You are
you so much.
influential, and not only that, you are someone who is easy to look up to. You are a mentor, and you make things look very easy. I've always admired that, especially because we see you up on the podium. You're 60 feet in the air, and you're not even breaking a sweat. you're up here. You know, you're happy. You're energetic, and that's unwavering. And I think that especially is interesting, because look at all you've done. You don't have to remain humble. You don't have to remain kind. You are accessible to all students, day or night.
For sure.
Even, I'm telling you, like, it's a known thing within the band, or at least during my time, that if we're in an emergency and we need to like call somebody, we're calling Prof. Jenkins, because you're the one that's going to answer, and you're going to fix the problem.
Wow.
And that's real, and that extends for everyone, but everyone isn't as able to answer all the time,
Right.
isn't as willing. And you were like our dad.
Wow.
All of you guys, you know, Newsome, Prof. Green, Prof. Mack, everyone served in that fatherly role. But I think especially for brass instrumentalists, which I was,
Yes.
I believe that impact that you had on us is one of a kind. And Prof,
Wow.
I know I'm fighting back tears now, because I think about it, and I think about the ways that you've impacted Nashville and music in Nashville. Even the National Museum of African American Music
Yes.
has just honored you for your impact and your achievements within music. And Prof, to end off this segment, I just want to talk about ways that the community can support you, the AOB in Brassville.
Ooh, all right. Let me get myself together. No, so first off, thank you for those words. That means a ton. So thank you. Ways to be supported. Well, anytime the AOB is performing, just show up.
Show
You know,
up.
that's the main thing. Staying in touch with our band.
And that kind of falls in line with Brassville as well.
Brassville,
showing
yes.
up
Just
and
show up,
onto that
show
community
love.
support.
Yes,
and
yes.
I think that's a good way to kind of wrap everything. Just honestly, community support for our African American musicians in
That's it.
Nashville.
That's
And
it.
Prof, thank you for sitting down and sharing your perspective.
Thank
and
you.
to our viewers, thank you for allowing me this space one more morning. Thank you and good morning.